Today we will deal with approach to paralytic hand. This paralytic hand means involvement of the lower motor neuron supplied to the hand. In the anterior cell you can have motor neuron disease and poliomyelitis. In the nerve root you have disc degenerative disease. In the upper trunk you have obstetric paralysis or Erb's paralysis. In the lower trunk you have the Klumpke's paralysis. Both the trunks are involved in total brachial plexus paralysis. In the nature of pathology, there can be injury, there can be entrapment, there can be infection, or there can be ischemia. So all these can lead to paralytic hand. Now let us study the scheme of the hand. So first place the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 metacarpals, then connect them with palmar and dorsal introssei. Notice that the first introssei space has a dorsal introssei only. With pad DAP, remember that palmar introssei are adductors and dorsal introssei are abductors. Any movement towards the middle finger is adduction and away from the middle finger is abduction. Interossei will insert into the extensor expansion with only pad DAP rule to produce the movement that they are meant for. Next, place the adductor pollicis from the third metacarpal to the proximal phalanx of the thumb. Then between the adductor pollicis and the first, second, third metacarpal and their interossei is the adductor space. On the metacarpal first or the thumb side and on the metacarpal fifth, that means the little finger side, create the thenar and the hypothenar bulge by placing the abductor, flexor and opponents of the pollex on the first metacarpal, and you have to name them abductor pollicis brevis, flexor pollicis brevis and opponens pollicis. And correspondingly on the fifth metacarpal and for the little finger, you have the abductor digiti minimi brevis, flexor digiti minimi brevis and opponens digiti minimi brevis. Now place the thenar and the hypothenar fascia and connect the two by the palmar aponeurosis. Then place the median septum attaching the palmar aponeurosis to the third metacarpal. Radial to the median septum is the thenar space, medial to it the mid-palmar space, and behind the adductor pollicis, or posterior to the adductor pollicis, is the adductor space. Then, in the thenar and the mid-palmar space, pass the flexor pollicis longus tendon to the distal phalanx of the thumb, which is most radial, and then the flexor digitorum superficialis and profundus tendons, 4 of them, to the middle and the distal phalanx of the 4 fingers respectively to flex the PIP joint, FDS, flexor digitorum superficialis, and DIP joints, flexor digitorum profundus. On the extensor side, from radial to ulnar are abductor pollicis longus, extensor pollicis brevis, the 2 tendons which cause the de Quervain's disease. Then the extensor pollicis longus, which extends the thumb when the thumb is abducted. Then after the thumb, go on to the wrist and place the dorsiflexors of the wrist, which are extensor carpi radialis longus and brevis, which are attached to the base of the second and the third metacarpal, and the extensor carpi ulnaris to the base of the fifth metacarpal. Then extend the MP joints by placing the extensor digitorum to the 4 fingers extensor expansion. The extensor digitorum would be helped by extensor indices for the index and extensor digiti minimi for the little finger. Then connect the flexors to the extensors by the lumbricals 1, 2, 3, 4, which will connect the flexor digitorum profundus to the extensor expansion. They will flex the MP joint and extend the PIP and DIP joint. The lumbrical 1 and 2 are supplied by the median and 3 and 4 by the ulnar nerve. Paralysis of the ulnar nerve in leprosy or ulnar and median in Klumpke's paralysis lead to MP extension, lead to lumbrical paralysis, 1, 2, 3, 4 paralysis, leading to MP extension and PIP, DIP flexion, which is the claw hand. In case of lumbrical paralysis not recovering, the second flexor digitorum superficialis or third flexor digitorum superficialis can be split into 4 slips. The slips are tunneled through the lumbrical tunnels and stitched to the extensor expansion under differential tension, keeping the MP joint flexed and the PIP and DIP extended, which is called as the intrinsic plus position. This FDS to lumbrical transfer is called as modified Bunnell's operation. The index finger FDS slip is past ulnar and the rest 3, 4, 5 digit tendons are past radial to the MP joints. Then we start talking of the brachial plexus, the formation and the branches of the brachial plexus. The brachial plexus is formed by the 5, 6, 7, 8, 1 roots. 5, 6 give upper trunk, 7 middle trunk and 8, 1 lower trunk. The trunk divides into anterior and posterior division. Anterior division of upper and middle trunk form the lateral cord, lower trunk the medial cord, and posterior division of all trunks form the posterior cord, named lateral, medial and posterior because of their relation to the brachial artery. Lateral cord continues as musculocutaneous nerve, medial cord as ulnar nerve and posterior cord as radial nerve. Median nerve arises from both the medial and the lateral cords. Branches, roots, 3, 4 and 5, the phrenic nerve, 5, 6 and 7, the nerve to serratus anterior, and 5th, nerve to rhomboids. All roots give branch to the scalene and rami communicants to the inferior cervical sympathetic ganglion. Upper trunk gives the suprascapular nerve to supraspinatus and infraspinatus, and also the nerve to subclavius. The nerve to subclavius gives an accessory phrenic nerve which winds round the subclavian vein to merge with the phrenic nerve. This hooks the subclavian vein and may be responsible for spontaneous unilateral axillary vein thrombosis. The cords, the lateral and medial pectoral arises from the lateral and medial cords. The medial cord additionally gives the medial cutaneous nerve of arm and forearm. Then the upper lower subscapular, the nerve to latissimus dorsi and axillary arise from the posterior cord. All these nerves are in addition to the main nerves, that is the musculocutaneous from the lateral cord, the ulnar nerve from the medial cord, the radial nerve from the posterior cord, and the musculocutaneous nerve from the lateral cord. The upper trunk is Erb's point, the lower trunk, the Klumpke's point. So, the upper trunk or the Erb's point has 6 nerves. The 5, 6 roots, the anterior posterior divisions, and suprascapular nerve and nerve to subclavius. It is pulled during delivery in breech presentation or forceps delivery when the baby's head is laterally bent in relation to the trunk in the opposite direction of the paralysis. The upper trunk, Erb's paralysis presents as policeman tip-taking position due to paralyzed shoulder abductors, elbow flexors, forearm supinators, and wrist dorsiflexors. Immobilization is in policeman stop position, which splints the upper limb in the loss of these active movement positions and thus prevents contractures. In case of residual paralysis, shoulder abductors are restored by trapezius to deltoid transfer, elbow flexors by pectoralis minor to biceps brachii transfer, and wrist dorsiflexors by pronator teres to extensor carpi radialis longus transfer. 8-1 or lower trunk involvement is Klumpke's paralysis, which can be damaged by hyperabduction, the cervical rib, or scalenus anticus syndrome. The 8-1 will supply the hand muscles through the ulnar and median and results in paralysis of lumbricals 1, 2, 3, and 4, presenting as all 4 claw hand, which is different from ulnar claw hand. These lumbricals flex the MP joint and extend the PIP-DIP joint through the extensor expansion. They are restored by using the FDS tendon of the middle or ring finger, dividing it into 4 slips, passing it through the lumbrical canals and stitching them to the extensor expansion under tension, with MP flexed and PIP-DIP extended, which is referred to as intrinsic plus position. Now we move on to the posterior cord, which gives the upper and lower subscapularis branches and nerve to latissimus dorsi. Then its axillary nerve passes through the quadrangular space, bounded superiorly by the lax part of the capsule sandwiched between subscapularis in front and teres minor behind. Inferiorly, the quadrangular space is bounded by the teres major, medially by the long head of triceps, and laterally by the surgical neck of humerus. The axillary nerve winds round the humerus under the deltoid muscle. It gives a branch to the teres minor, which has a pseudoganglion. It supplies the deltoid and through it the skin in the subacromial regiment batch area. Finally, the posterior cord continues as the radial nerve, passing through the lateral triangular space, bounded by teres major. Its inferior border, you have the winding fibers of the latissimus dorsi. Superiorly is the teres major. Superior in the lateral triangular space is the teres major and latissimus dorsi. Then medially you have the long head of triceps and you have the shaft of humerus lateral to it. The radial nerve enters the radial groove after passing through the lateral triangular space, and it is accompanied by the profunda brachii artery in the radial groove. Here it is covered by the lateral head of the triceps and supplies the triceps and the anconius. Then it pierces the lateral intermuscular septum as it winds round the lateral border of the humerus. In the radial groove, it can be pressed during reduction of an inferolaterally directed fracture of the shaft of the humerus. See the red line, which is lying superior to the radial groove. This fracture is called as Holstein-Lewis fracture. In the anterior compartment, after piercing the lateral intermuscular septum, it comes to lie between the brachialis medially and the brachioradialis laterally. It supplies the brachioradialis, the extensor carpi radialis longus, and the extensor carpi radialis brevis above the elbow. Thus, wrist extension is compromised only in the above elbow injury of the radial nerve. Wrist drop negative means a below elbow injury of the radial nerve. The below elbow injury of the radial nerve occurs in surgical excision of head of radius when the nerve winds round the neck of the radius. Crossing the elbow, the radial nerve divides into the anterior and posterior branches. The anterior branch runs radial to the artery, deep to brachioradialis, on the supinator crest, and then on the anterior border of radius till the radial styloid. Here it winds round the radial styloid and supplies the dorsum of the radial 3.5 hand and the digits. The posterior branch winds round the neck of the radius between the fibers of the supinator, supplying it and then supplying the extensors of the wrist, which is extensor carpi radialis, longus, brevis, and extensor carpi ulnaris, extensor and abductors of the thumb, which is extensor pollicis longus, extensor pollicis brevis, and abductor pollicis longus, extensors of the MP joints, which is extensor indicis, extensor digitorum, extensor digiti minimi. Injection of prolonged pressure on Saturday nights after taking alcohol damages the radial nerve in the radial groove, resulting in thumb drop, finger drop, and wrist drop. Damage to the posterior branch in excising the head of the radius spares the sensory dorsum of 3.5 digits of hand and the wrist dorsiflexors. Motor muscles for thumb drop is palmaris longus, finger drop is flexor carpi ulnaris, and wrist drop is pronator teres. Now see that the palmaris longus, palmar flex in the opening phase of grasp, and in this phase the thumb extends. That means the palmaris longus and the MP extensors act in the same phase. This is called as synphasic transfer. Palmaris longus to extensor and abductor of thumb is therefore a synphasic transfer. Next, again in the opening phase of grasp, the wrist palmar flex and ulnar deviates by the flexor carpi ulnaris and the MP joints extend. So FCU transfer to extensor digitorum is again a synphasic transfer. In the closing phase of grasp, the wrist dorsiflexes due to extensor carpi radialis longus, extensor carpi radialis brevis, and extensor carpi ulnaris, and the forearm pronates by the pronator teres. So pronator teres is a synphasic transfer for extensor carpi radialis longus. So this is the principle behind the synphasic Robert-Jones transfer for the non-recoverable radial nerve paralysis. Then notice the musculocutaneous nerve, which arises from the lateral cord on the lateral side of the artery, pierces and supplies the coracobrachialis, lies between biceps and brachialis, supplying both. Then it lies between biceps and brachioradialis space, which is anterior to the radial nerve. It pierces the deep fascia of the forearm to become the lateral cutaneous nerve of the forearm. This arrow shows you the medial musculocutaneous nerve. Next, notice the median nerve, which arises both from the lateral and the medial cord on the lateral side of the artery. It crosses the artery in the middle of the arm to lie medial to it. The artery, after crossing the elbow or at the elbow, gives the ulnar artery, which crosses the median nerve, which is crossed by the median nerve from medial to lateral. The artery and the nerve are covered by the bicipital epineuritis, which needs to be divided in fasciotomy in acute Walkman's ischemic contracture. Now, see the third. After crossing the elbow, it lies between the humeral and ulnar head of the pronator teres, separated from the ulnar artery by the ulnar head of the pronator teres. The relation is important in flexor pronator release for chronic VIC, which is also called as the Max Page's operation. Then 4. After passing between the two heads of the pronator teres, separated from the ulnar artery by its ulnar head, the nerve dips under the two heads of the flexor digitorum superficialis and comes to lie between the flexor pollicis longus on the radial side and flexor digitorum profundus on the medial side. Both these muscles are supplied by an end artery, which is the median artery. So here the nerve can get entrapped in a muscle sequestrum in chronic VIC, which consists of the FDS and the flexor pollicis longus. Releasing it by excising the muscle sequestrum is called as Seddon's operation. The pathology of the muscle sequestrum is not necrosis but necrobiosis. 5 centimeters above the wrist, the median nerve gives the palmar carpal branch, which supplies the skin of the thenar eminence. The median nerve, then crosses the pronator quadratus to enter the carpal tunnel between the flexor carpi radialis radially and palmaris longus medially. Here the nerve can get entrapped by a swelling in the synovial sheath of the tendon that pass through the carpal tunnel. This leads to the carpal tunnel syndrome. The swelling can be managed by rest, splinting, steroid, or resistant severe problem of carpal tunnel syndrome with neurological deficit has to be treated by surgical decompression, which divides the carpal ligament from its proximal edge to its distal edge. So this is the famous carpal tunnel syndrome surgery. And you notice the median nerve crossing the pronator quadratus. It gives a palmar carpal branch which supplies superficial to the carpal ligament, the skin over the thenar eminence. Then it passes under the carpal ligament. The carpal ligament extends from the paciohamate ligament medially to the edge of the scaphoid and trapezium laterally. In the carpal tunnel, the nerve has flexor carpi radialis on the lateral side and palmaris longus on its medial side. An incision on the medial side of the palmaris longus will not damage the nerve, nor will the incision then tether to the nerve. The light purple colored in this photograph are the synovial sheaths of the tendon, which if swollen can press the nerve as it passes through the rigid fibro-osseous carpal tunnel. This causes subjective sensory phenomenon in the sensory distribution of the median nerve in the hand. After passing through the tunnel, the nerve divides into the superficial and deep branch. The superficial branch supplies 3.5 radial digits and communicates with the superficial branch of the ulna. The deep branch passes between abductor pollicis brevis and flexor pollicis brevis, pierces the opponens pollicis and supplies lumbrical 1 and 2. Rarely in carpal tunnel syndrome, there may be motor involvement. In decompressing the median nerve, the carpal ligament needs to be totally divided from its proximal to distal edge, but medial to the palmaris longus tendon. The nerve can then be seen by lifting the radial edge of the divided ligament. Now we see the median nerve in the hand. Notice that the median nerve crosses the pronator quadratus, passes through the carpal tunnel between palmaris longus and flexor carpi radialis and divides into the superficial and deep branch. The superficial branch supplies 3.5 digits and communicates with the superficial branch of the ulnar nerve. The deep branch passes between abductor and flexor pollicis brevis, pierces the opponents and supplies brachial 1 and 2. Paresthesia and sensory loss along the superficial branch occur in carpal tunnel syndrome or leprosy, needing carpal tunnel decompression, which can be medically or surgically. Surgical decompression is by dividing the carpal ligament. High median nerve paralysis leads to paralysis of flexor digitorum profundus 1 and 2, which leads to the pointing index test. The pointing index is treated by anchoring the FDP1-2 tendon to the FDP3 and 4. Paralysis of the deep branch causes thinner wasting and loss of abduction and opponents. Opponents loss is treated by opponentsplasty. Opponentsplasty is fixed origin type, where the FDS, flexor digitorum superficialis, second or third, is transferred to the abductor pollicis brevis of the thumb by Riordan's or Brandt's technique. The two techniques differ depending on the type of pulley that is used to change the direction of the FDS tendon and the type of insertion into the abductor pollicis brevis. Then there is the fixed insertion type of opponentsplasty, where the insertion is fixed. It is the extensor pollicis brevis. The operation is called as the Phelan-Miller procedure. The motor units used for the extensor pollicis brevis can be flexor carpi radialis, palmaris longus, flexor carpi ulnaris, extensor carpi ulnaris, or extensor carpi radialis brevis. Finally, there is an intrinsic transfer available for abductor pollicis brevis, where abductor digiti minimi is everted and transferred onto the abductor pollicis brevis, and this operation is called as the Littler's transfer. Before opponentsplasty, you have to ensure that the carpometacarpal joint is stable and painless, and there is no contracture of the first web space. So if there is a contracture, first release the contracture and then do an opponentsplasty. Then after the musculocutaneous and the median nerve, we start with the ulnar nerve. So you notice that the ulnar nerve runs medial to the artery, arising as a continuation of the medial cord. It runs medial to the artery till the middle of the arm. Then it pierces the medial intermuscular septum, becomes posterior to it, lying between it and the triceps till it is behind the medial epicondyle. Behind the medial epicondyle, it is covered by the posterior part of the ulnar collateral ligament, which connects the medial epicondyle to the olecranon. This is the formation of the canal of Canal. And here, if the nerve is swollen, it can get entrapped and paralyzed, especially in leprosy. The ulnar collateral ligament has to be detached from the medial epicondyle to decompress the nerve in the canal of Cannon. Ulnar nerve then lies between the flexor digitorum profundus, deep to it, and the flexor carpi ulnaris, superficial to it, supplying both of them but flexor carpi ulnaris complete supply and flexor digitorum profundus 3 and 4. 5 centimeters above the wrist, it gives a palmar carpal branch which supplies the skin over the hypothenar eminence and the palmaris brevis. Now you notice that the muscles paralyzed in high ulnar nerve paralysis would be flexor carpi ulnaris, which you will recognize by wasting and weakened palmar flexion and ulnar deviation of wrist. The flexor digitorum profundus 3 and 4, which will lead to failure of palmar flexion of the distal interphalangeal joint, and this will make the claw hand deformity less prominent. Normally, a higher lesion should produce more deformity, but here the claw hand is being lessened by a higher paralysis. So this is called as ulnar paradox. It is because of the paralysis of FDP 3 and 4. Then you have the hypothenar muscle wasting and abductor digiti minimi paralysis, which you can test by the Guava test. Then the lumbricals 3 and 4 are paralyzed. This leads to the loss of MP flexion and PIP DIP extension, and this is the formation of ulnar claw hand. Then the intraossei are paralyzed, and the palmar intraossei, which are adductors, are tested by the CART test. Finally, the adductor pollicis is paralyzed, and it is tested by the book test of the Froment sign. Then, besides this motor deficit, you will have sensory loss in 1.5 ulnar fingers and the hypothenar eminence. Now here you see the ulnar nerve, which is medial to the flexor carpi ulnaris, which divides into the superficial and deep branch. The superficial supplies 1.5 ulnar digits and communicates with the median. The deep passes under the pissiohamate ligament, which is called as the Goyen's canal, then between abductor digiti minimi and flexor digiti minimi, pierces the opponent's digiti minimi, supplies all intraossei, 3-4 lumbricals, and ends in adductor pollicis. So, in residual ulnar nerve paralysis, low ulnar nerve paralysis, where the nerve is entrapped in the Goyen's canal in leprosy, you do not have to transfer for FCU the FDP 3-4, which can be tethered. FDP 3-4 can be tethered to FDP 1-2. The hypothenar muscles, you don't need a transfer. But for lumbricals, you can use a tendon. The tendon can be FDP 2 or 3. If you have to use for opponents also, then you prefer FDP 2. So these FDP 2 and 3 tendon can be used. Then extensor carpi radialis, brevis or longus can be transferred, which is called as the Brand's operation. Then you can try to achieve MP flexion by causing contracture of the anterior capsule of the MP joint, which is called as Zancoli's capsuloplasty, or producing skin contracture on the distal transverse palmar crease, which is called as the Fritchie's operation. Or you can do a tenodesis producing MP flexion by the Fowler's or the Riordan's technique using the palmaris longus tendon. And all these are to substitute the paralysis of lumbrical 1, 2, 3 and 4. So this is a full question. Management of ulnar claw hand. For intraossei, you do not need to transfer. For adductor pollicis, you can use the FDS 2 and 3 pass it through the second web space and insert it onto the adductor pollicis. For the sensory loss, you are basically concerned with the sensations on the ulnar side of the little finger. You can take a nerve and vascular skin from the sensory side of the index or middle finger, and you can transfer this full thickness skin graft on the ulnar side of the little finger. So this is what you can do for sensory loss.